There we go.
Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to paint this awesome vintage holiday inspired tree. So this is actually inspired by several vintage images that I did some research on, but we kind of put our own little flair into it. And I'm going to be showing you step by step how you can paint this in acrylic yourself. It's very beginner friendly. It's really going to get broken down. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
I'm going to be explaining my techniques, my color mixes, and my tools. And then John's going to be doing this interesting camera work. I think you'll see. Also, very importantly, I'm not in the chat right now, and I don't have the chat. The moderators are there. They're the people with wrenches, and on Facebook, they're your hosts. And they don't have any great, awesome badges or monikers over there, but let's give them a thing. They're going to make sure if I mention something, if there's a link, if you have a question, that you get as much help during the live chat as you can. You might get your question asked live on the show if John catches one of them during the show. And if I miss it, because I never miss it when I'm in the chat, but if I miss it, then please leave a comment, write support at theartsherpa.com, come by the group, ask questions. It's like, that's how you learn.
She never misses them.
It's an art party, but it's a very informative one. So I really am excited about doing this one. Really pumped about it. Pumped! For an evening paint along. We haven't done an evening in a while.
No, we haven't.
Oh, no, just kidding. I think it's great because it lets different people come in sometimes when we got delayed for family stuff, and then everybody's okay, but just, you know how sometimes family stuff comes up, and then there you are having to go in the evening, but it's just like such a blessing because we get to see more of our art family. Now I'm going to be smaller than this, and you're going to be able to see my palette. John will shrink me down and scooch me where I need to be scooched depending on where I'm mixing stuff. You saw the materials list. Just to go over it again so you know where the colors are. This is the titanium white. This is the cad yellow medium, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta here, phthalo green, and phthalo blue. Just so you know where those are. And this is our 9x12 surface. Guess what, John?
What's that?
Sip the root beer and put on step 1.
Ooh, we could do that. I think we can go do, and then this button.
That button.
I gotta remember which button is which order.
Sometimes I like an evening live. That button is the good button. Normally I don't get this time slot normally, but I did today because my friend was on vacation, so that worked out really, really well. I'll go ahead and use this brush. This is 1 1/4 inches. You could use one of your like hog cutters. You just want something that will let you paint the whole canvas easily and without difficulty. You want to use a teeny tiny brush because it could take a minute. And we're going to paint this whole surface with our bright cad red medium. Maybe you're painting hue. Maybe you're painting pure cad. But what you want is about 2 coats of it. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited I got a text out today too. I got a gnome out.
Just taking a look at that, seeing, oh, is that, I got gnomed. Are you just brushing up and down on this one?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy.
I'm going to go over and see who's here. Well, hello, everybody.
We're just covering the surface with red. It's a red. This is a color. What's really kind of fun is like when I go back and I look at vintage art, because sometimes it's a good place to get inspiration. There are certain colors that I'll go, oh, that's cad red. And there's a particular red in mid-century modern design and art and fashion that is kind of cad red. It's kind of like this like bright orangey red. Looks really great with avocado.
Mm.
And harvest gold, which is really yellow ochre. No, I don't have a Pinterest board full of mid-century modern design. No, I don't. But I just wanted to do this year for our 12 days where we just got into some like groovalicious throwback to yesteryear kind of artwork. Okay, so it was a lot of work for 1 coat. Guess what?
What's that?
We're going to dry it. Don's going to talk to you guys for a minute, which is his favorite. And we're going to come back and do a 2nd coat.
Hello, everybody. I do like talking to you. I got to see you guys. It's nice. It's sort of a late evening. I don't really have anything particular to say other than hello, everyone. So, you know, how you doing? So we're going to hang out here tonight. We're going to paint a tree. It's going to be a cute little tree, and it's very easy to do. So don't use heat when drying your surface. Follow along. Don't forget you can hit pause anytime. You can find stuff on our website, www.theartsherpa.com, because we're still on the World Wide Web.
On the web? Yeah, we
Although
are.
you don't have to do the www part. You just go to theartsherpa.com and you'll get there.
Yeah.
It's not
We're
like
so
it's
we're
not
so like from
1995.
another town that we actually still say www.
www.
My eldest does not think that's cute.
The World Wide Web.
I'm going to do the second coat. Now, if you're really new to painting, maybe you've joined me from the beginner acrylic class and you're starting the next part of your art journey. This 2-coat thing, if you're doing a solid, even field background like this, where it's this nice, bright, strong color, often you're going to want 2 coats just to give it depth and keep it from looking streaky. You know, and if you think about it, that's true for a lot of things that you probably painted in the past, you know, walls, furniture, things like that.
So
Put out a little more cad red because I eeped through it pretty fast.
So it's a good question. They were asking if we have our Christmas tree up, and the real question here is, if you never took it down, does it count as having it up?
And this is really cool.
Just say that there's elements of that that's true.
There are elements. It's not completely true, but it's not completely untrue either. It's conditional. I actually want to move into a Nightmare Before Christmas in the future so that I can just start at Halloween and then just sort of tweak it like Disneyland through Christmas. That's my plan. And I'm sticking to it. Right now we are borrowed a really fabulous Betsy Johnson tree. I don't know if it's from Betsy Johnson, but it's the one where it's a mannequin top and the tree skirt bottom that my mother-in-law had. It's all decorated with Doctor Who. It's kind of an interesting thing.
Tree skirt. It's a
like the skirt of the bodice is a tree.
But it's not green tree. It's like silver sparkle glam tree.
It's the disco balls you guys very generously helped us get are over them. I have to figure out how to get film of that.
You just turn on the cameras.
You say that, but it's never that simple.
All right, dry your surface.
Straight it up. All right, we're going to dry it and go on to the next step.
Okay. And on to the next step. So, I'm not sure the next step will step after we get 2 coats on, because you want a thoroughly red surface. We don't want no partial red in here. See? It's super red, no streaks. That's 2 coats. Sometimes it might take 3. Don't feel bad if it takes 4. It just might be that way with the paint. Doesn't matter what, if you're starting, student, they don't call it student grade, like economy paint can take a couple coats.
Next step.
Okay.
Yeah. Next step.
This is step 2.
I'm going to show you a trick to get a better tree out of your tree experience.
Hello, step 2.
And it's based on a triangle.
Okay, what's a triangle?
So the first part of this that we want to lay out is we want to make sure that we have some ground. And I'm going to say that it's about 3 fingers worth of ground. Right? About 3 fingers worth. I just want some space under my tree. I'm going to use a chalk. This is a tailor's chalk tool, but this is just basically skinny chalk like on a chalkboard that goes into this because it disappears with water. And I'm going to make a nice little little line here. Let's make sure it's about 3 fingers, which is maybe 2 inches. Apparently my 3 fingers is 2 inches wide. I should start saying that. And then we're going to want to leave a little space. You want to leave a little space for the star and all that. So you want to be down about 2 inches. And I may come here and mark off the center of my surface. Right? So if I come down from that center like this.
Yes.
Very lightly. I don't want to make a big hard line that I'm going to have trouble removing later. Okay. And I'm going to come here, leaving, well, again, about that 2 inches and 2 inches on either side. Right? Maybe, yeah, you could do 3 fingers.
Creates a wonderful frame.
It's a wonderful frame. And then you're going to just give yourself a little guide where you make a little triangle. The reason I'm going to have you guys do this is that it's sort of a brushstroke technique that we build this tree with. And what you guys might struggle with at home is kind of the shape, because while you're practicing your regular, beautiful, delicate, lacy branches, you want it to kind of continue to taper and do this work here. These are like your little guidelines. We're not playing Squid Game, I promise. It's little guidelines. Looks a little bit like the Squid Game, so that's a weird, sad thing.
You can tell all the cat owners in chat because they're like, I can't decorate the bottom quarter of my tree. So it'd be funny to paint a tree, but only decorate the top 3/4 and then just paint the little cat in the bottom.
That would be funny. All right. So this is really important. So again, 2 inches from the bottom. You want 2 inches on either side, converging together with another, like at least 2 fingers, which is like 1.5 inches from the top, so you have room for your star. So if you can mentally do that or use kids' chalk, don't use paint to draw that out because you need to be able to delicately have irregular lines coming in and out. But this will help guide your sense of space while you're focusing on your sense of brushstroke. Let's come back and we will paint the bottom.
Wait, we're on. This is step 2. We're painting it in. Oh, is that just drawing? Oh, you just drew. That was just a draw.
I just want them to focus on that.
I'm sorry.
Focus on that. That's how important the step is.
That was it. Was a drawing.
Your traceable will be this triangle. Just so you know, it won't be the usual little tree side. It'll be the triangle. All right, step 3. You're good. You're great. Now we get to have some fun. We're going to take just our magenta. That's too wet. I'm going to take my big brush again. Got to make sure it's not so wet. Watch that moisture in your brush, right, guys? Moist. Oh, it's just not coming out, man.
It's getting squishy.
This is why I get annoyed at this one.
That brush?
I'm going to switch to my cat's tongue. Yeah, it can hold too much water.
Oh.
When that happens to you, just like...
Switch your brush.
I'm going to just pull it like that.
Look at that.
I'm not going to even put up with that. And then I'm going to switch a brush. They go back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I test different things to see how I like them, and you guys get to see me do that in real time and be like, oh, she's not as fun for that. Everything has its like good moments and its like irk moments.
They don't.
And you want this to be kind of glazy. Huh? They don't want what?
Oh, decorating the backsides of trees where cats get into them. That's a no.
This is pretty fun. All right. Doesn't take too much. And you're going to just let that sort of, it's a glaze. It's a slightly darker color. You're just going to let it be there for a second. It's just going to be there. And guess what?
No, what?
While it's doing this, we're going to come up and kind of lay the groundwork for our halo. Our halo is pretty cool. So I'm going to first come in and take a little of my yellow and some of my cad red on my cat's tongue. This is a pointed filbert. You could use a filbert. You could use a round. I'm using the cat's tongue for my Art Sherpa line. And I'm going to bring a halo in flicking strokes.
Oh, the sparkle.
See how I bring this down and then I flick out that edge.
I see it.
And I'm going to radiate this in a halo.
It's radiating before my eyes.
Where it meets at the top of the tree where the star would be. And again, it's like a yellow-orange, so I've got a little red into it. Straightly radiating out.
Ooh.
Yellow's pretty transparent, on a regular day.
That kind of adds to the...
It's just a little bit of a kind of fun glory that you can get going on there, right? A little bit of woo! Flicking it out.
It's jazz hands for your tree.
It's jazz hands for your tree. It is jazz hands for your tree. Now, I do want a little white in there, but I want it to be glazy. So you'll notice in the materials list, we used a product called Golden Glazing Liquid. Not every glazing liquid is this product. art companies just name their stuff what they want to name their stuff. It doesn't necessarily do the same thing. So this is a company Golden, and they make a gloss glazing liquid, which is a glaze and a slow drying agent. Right? If you just had gel or medium, or you just wanted to do very thin white with water, you could. I'm going to load up some glaze and get a little white into it. If you had zinc white right now, you could use it, or mixing white. Just on the edge of the brush, stroking in a radial. I'm not on the wide. I'm not making wide strokes. I'm making little tapered strokes. Pressure at the beginning, release at the end. You're really new at painting and you just wandered into this and thought, what the hey, I'm going to try. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. It's art. Coloring on its own is fun. Give yourself a minute to learn new techniques and ideas. It's okay to leave yourself some time. And then a nice little kind of crowning radial.
Very nice.
So we've got that, and I think that looks really terrific. We are going to dry our canvas and go on to the next step. We are cooking through. Look for questions as we go, if you can.
For the questions.
If you can.
You do the thing, and I'll go do the other thing where I look at the people and say hello to the people. Hello, Earthlings. Nice to see you all out there in chat land on the intertubes. You know how to work the World Wide Webs and get on to the places and find the stuff. It's on theartsherpa.com. You'll find, if you go to our calendar really has like the events scheduled forward and all the ones in the past. When you click on one of those, it brings you to our project page. And on that project page, you'll find things like your traceable, your reference image, lots of description of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff. Secret stuff. Just and mini books.
Mini books.
There's
which are written out instructions of these videos that match the steps and the timestamps. So you have a really good opportunity to succeed at these paintings. All the help that you need when you need it. I'm going to sip my root beer.
And I tell you, sometimes I need help.
We all do sometimes. I'm going to take that angle brush. You could use a bright. You could continue using your cat's tongue. And I'm going to grab a little bit of my quinacridone magenta. And I'm going to do an interesting thing. You could do a little bit of your phthalo blue. This is a smidge. See how I took barely any over? And I'm going to come under here where I have I know I have my triangle going, right? And then I'm going to just flick down this little glaze. If you need glaze help, you can always get glazing liquid. These are irregular in their lines, so sometimes it's a little short, sometimes it's a little longer. The flick is light pressure. I'm not pressing down hard on the canvas, and again, I'm flicking the brush.
Huh.
I'm just doing a little flick. And this is going to be kind of a shadow that's under the tree.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little implied shadow that's under the tree. So that it looks like it has one.
It's grounded.
It's grounded with its shadow. But I'm not trying to make an even across bar. I'm trying to have a little bit of a irregular line, and that'll matter later when I'm coming through with my light red and white and my different reflections of the tree. Go ahead and dry it a little bit if you can. For the next glaze and layer to come over, it will look really good.
And just dry. And that helps make it so that the next layers will adhere better. And because these glazes and layers can lift up real easy if they're not. Gotta dry them so they don't lift.
That's why we're drying it, so it doesn't lift. I'm going to take a little bit of white and my cad red, right, which is kind of my background color. And I am going to get a little glazing liquid in it, though. And that's just so it's a bit transparent. And I'm going to add a little bit of this coming down. The first of what is the reflection. And I'll come out a little bit from the tree, kind of tapered. Reflections are fun to do once you get kind of a sense of them. This will be one of those things. And if you feel like you've got to get, your little finger involved for finger blend, if you don't have the glazing medium, just thin your white a little bit and allow it to dry thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
That looks pretty good. Get a little bit of a little white here. And I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to come across.
Oh, you're cross.
Look at that.
You're crossing the streams.
I'm crossing the streams. Has a much better result here than it would, when the Gozerian comes to invade your planet.
When you have a proton accelerator.
Strapped right to your back. If you're not familiar, we're just referencing Ghostbusters because we're kind of goofy. If you're like, I just came to learn to paint and I don't know what.
So.
Somebody might not have seen it. There's a whole bunch of people who said nope to Game of Thrones. I just don't want to assume what people are up to.
But if you haven't seen Ghostbusters, you really should because it's like one of the best movies ever.
Okay. So this shouldn't be too light or, too much of, dark yet. I can come back with my pink now.
Mm-hmm.
Just my magenta and even kind of pull this down. Layer it up, man. Have some fun. When you're glazing, and this will teach you how to do wet city streets and all kinds of fun techniques. And you can see that I can go back and forth. All of this is look how little pressure I'm putting though on my brush. I'm not putting a ton of pressure on it, and you can always knock things back with a little bit of CAD red.
Oh.
Big trick that you guys have to think about and worry about is that you don't get too intense with yourself or too worried about the little details here.
Right.
Just try to enjoy this process and learning about it because it really kind of comes together at the end. So it's just giving you an opportunity. This is sort of a similar skill that you would use for water reflections or city streets or any of those things. And, sometimes our art skills translate from one concept to another concept. Guess what, John?
You're going to dry it?
We're going to try it and go on to the next step.
Okay, you dry it. I'm going to explain
Step it.
Why not use heat. Okay, so here's real quick. Don't use heat because heat causes different reactions to acrylic paint than you would expect. Because acrylic paint is basically it's a synthetic product. It reacts to heat and can cause it to color shift. It can cause it to lift and do all sorts of things. And also it just makes it sticky because it's heat.
Yeah.
So if you don't use heat, it's just better all over for your paint.
Yeah. And some paints have different thresholds of tolerance. Some of them are just armored against everything. And some of them are more likely to have issues. And sometimes conditions can make those issues bigger. So it's not that it's an always thing or a thing to feel anxiety about. It's just something to be aware of and an early troubleshooting thing that you can work on at home. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I talk with the camera? I don't know. Step?
I don't know. Do you want a step?
Step.
What step would you like?
I don't know.
Can I randomly give you a step?
I hope you're numbering them.
Well,
I like it when you number steps. That helps me.
But
helps them at home too.
I was thinking I would randomly do them and not do them in sequential order though.
Whatever brings you peace and joy.
Have a number. Bingo.
I don't want to interfere with your peace and joy. So I'm going to get my number 8 cat's tongue again. You could use a round brush here or a filbert. Let's see if I have an example of a filbert. You could use a filbert on its edge in the same way I'm using this cat's tongue and get a similar effect. So that's what you could do. I'm going to take a little bit of my white and let's get some of our just a smidge of the CAD red into it. And we're going to layer this up in the same kind of concept up into right about this point. That's sort of how we would layer dragon scales. I'm going to come on my toe.
Hold on. I'm
and make a little.
Side view.
little touch.
What?
All right, little touch. And a little bit of red in it. This first one isn't like perfectly opaque. It's a little bit, it's not our whitest white.
Okay.
All right, so these are some of the under kind of shadow of the tree.
The shadow of the
Just
tree.
a little touch pull. Let's come over here and...
Well, hello, we are Sherpa.
We are Sherpa!
Hello.
It's so good to see you all here. I missed you so much. Still on our toe. And that would be if you're using the filbert or the round, you'd still be on the tippy toe of your brush like a little ballerina, just touching and pulling. And you can see making these little brush strokes that come together and kind of make these odd little branches. You can see what I mean about you want to be able to focus on your tree and not the tapering and shape. And that's why that chalk becomes a very comforting little guide. I'm going to come over here to the other side. And I kind of alternate sides like this. And it was a little hard on John with doing camera work, but it's a good thing to think about because it's easy to fill in through the center, but sometimes capturing the space and the sides, that can be the hardest.
You challenge my camera work?
No, I'm just saying, like, it creates problems for the camera. I don't know. I'm not challenging our camera work.
I have skills.
You have so many skills, and I'm not challenging them.
Most of them are involving pushing buttons and taunting my wife.
But you're good at those things, and you should always feel really great about it. So I answer my questions, and I even answer questions on YouTube that go back into the years or Facebook, wherever I'm at. I go back. So like an old post or an old video, I will answer questions if a question comes up. And sometimes those questions will be like, we had that problem then, but it was 6 years ago. We don't do it now. And then sometimes it's like, we had that problem. I wouldn't even say this is a problem, but we did it then and we do it now. And so one of the ones I get is like, when John and I were first on air, we had to figure out our rhythm. You know, like how...
What are you talking about?
We
were always just super good at this. We're just like, this was natural. We knew, like, this has always been this smooth.
You know, figure out our color balance, how long I would take to show a technique, like all kinds of things.
Like 2 years to figure out how audio worked. And
it's just so fun to get like old notes and people blank. That guy talks a lot. Is he going to talk the whole show? And I'm like, bad news. He's still here. But we're better at the talking thing, I hope. I hope.
She still doesn't know how to run any of this stuff, so you guys are stuck with me.
No, I don't want to run any of the stuff. I like you doing it. So here in this first run of these brush strokes through the center, we don't have to create those sort of like pieced out branches. You'll notice so I can kind of fill in a little bit with my brush strokes here in the center and not worried about the little tapered layering. Because we're going to have the white branches coming up, I just want to make sure that when I layer them on top, they have two values. The red, the kind of creamy white, which is, I guess, our shadow kind of value of the white.
Mm.
And I do bring these little branches out, even though I know I'm going to come back with the bright white ones. And the reason that I do that is because they create almost like a little shadow.
If you used a fan brush, you'd get a different technique than this,
Totally different. You'd be done already.
But
if I did this with a fan brush, this painting would be done already.
But this is a particular kind of look.
This is this sort of vintage lacy look. A lot of these old cards were done with pastels, watercolor, and gouache in a multimedia technique. Not that much acrylic. So it's really always interesting to be like, how do I get that look? How do I get that effect with the medium that I'm using now? So it's always a neat challenge. And then also, how do I capture the aesthetic, but give you something a little bit new? That's what we got to do. So I'm going to come out here in another little branch. See how nice that triangle is helpful? Because you're so into your branches, right? But the triangle is guiding you up into the converging line. So you can be mentally into these little brush strokes and you don't have to go, wait, what happened to my tree? It's round now. That happens. If it happens to you, just know it's normal. Happens to everybody, and it's okay. That's why we put the little guardrails on.
Gotcha.
I don't want this to be too dark, and I don't want it to be too light, because this, again, is the construct with which we bring the white branches with the big details into the painting. If I need a little water, I get a little water, kind of work it in. And again, I know I'm coming here with very detailed little white branches. So just giving myself a little anchor. I don't have to go out too far up here because we're going to be piecing them out in a second. And interestingly enough, I'm just going to come up to the star. I'm not going to do the turnaround swirl that we do at the top with the details. We just have to come up to the point and then we're good. Aren't we good?
Yeah.
Right up to the point where that little star is. But now we've created that next anchor of the form. You've followed your triangles. You've got kind of a sense of what's happening. We're going to be working more in this kind of element as we go. But you've got that first layer. So now we dry this. And then interestingly enough, we're going to come back and guess what?
What's that?
Do more of that.
More.
But with more white. Isn't that exciting? Yes.
There'll be layers.
Layers.
I suspect there's going to be a couple of these.
Dry your canvas. You got this. You're good. You are. You're really good. Right.
So, as you can see, dry your surface. Prepare for another one. So I hope I answered questions on the drying of the surface thing. Is the stripe background the reference an artifact of lighting? I think it's an artifact of it being shrunk. The reference photo
Yeah?
has a little bit of stripiness to it.
Oh, that may be an artifact of it being shrunk.
Yeah, I think it's an artifact of it being shrunk. So
it has no actual... Here. Here.
Reset it.
Reference. So, there we go. Yeah, sometimes, like, the images, like, even the color match won't be exactly perfect.
The reds are so hard.
It's really hard. So, we just kind of... generally, you know, only gets really interesting in skin tone.
Yeah.
But you just
work
with it. Do we have our step?
This one?
Yeah.
I have a step.
So now I'm going to get clean water because I really don't want any other color in the paint. And I'm going to come in and make sure that my brush is really well rinsed out. And I'm going to load up my white. And you can see I'm really pulling it into the brush, so I've got a nice load. And if I have this right, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start again.
Ooh, these really pop much more.
If I want smaller little details, then I just touch the brush a little bit less. Back on the toe. And then maybe not exactly in the same place as that shadow. And a little bit longer out, I'll just come here and... exactly what I did before, but just more delicately.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, and you can see like some of the other little shadow branches peek out. And then, of course, the little two tones of value. So it just gives your tree a little more depth so you can piece out little surprise decor elements.
Mm.
You can see I kind of curve these in.
That really makes the...
isn't that just like, woo, you can feel it now.
The implication of the branch. What size cat's tongue is that?
This is the 8, but you could do this with the 4. You could do this with a filbert. It's really just about getting that little kind of teardrop stroke with a little bit of a curve into it.
Uh-huh.
You know, just kind of think and be peaceful with your little strokes up. See how we do? A little longer out here. See how I curve those in sometimes, make a bigger teardrop and then pull them in. I'm not taking them up too far because I'm going to layer branches on top of them. So it's about like fancy scaling. Be fancy.
Fancy.
And give ourselves an interesting little one out here.
All right.
Ooh. Think how it kind of goes out in that fun way. Dip in a little bit of water, not too much, because I just want it to flow off my brush. I don't want it to be gummy, but I don't want it to be wet. So that's the balance that I'm finding on my brush. And I'm going to come here and I'm kind of go between these two. Now maybe here, I'm going to kind of make a little bigger branch that might layer in like this. But it's not going to go up too far. Come right here. Lacing it up. Maybe this one fans out a little more because it's facing us, so it's a little bit more faced to us. A little more faced to us.
Yeah.
And then this one. A little heavier teardrop right there and coming up. That's a nice one. Just layering them up.
Looking nice.
Okay, just keep going layers. This is what we're doing for a minute. So if you have questions or things, we're just doing this till the end.
Is what we do
for this whole step. Enjoy this.
And then.
And then.
And then.
And then. Sorry. And then.
What have we done new today?
This is all I do. Bringing these fun little, kind of interesting branches out, right? That make it feel like that little fir tree, very interesting. Are there any questions or funny things to share from chat?
Nope.
No?
Nope. You're on your own now.
Be funny, guys. Make me curious to show myself.
Would using silver metallic paint make it look more like an aluminum tree?
I think actually you'd find most silver metallic paints are not very opaque. And so wouldn't give you a really satisfying, unless you had there's very few paints that are super opaque. Most of the metallic acrylics are pretty transparent. And you have to do the interference of the metallics in a kind of a weird way. You could, however, do this technique and then gold or silver foil it, and it would be like the bomb.
What about like those little silver pens if you just like flick them to make the...
You could maybe get away with like little silver oil pens, and I think you could use Holbein's Chroma Pearl, which is opaque enough for this. It's $40 a little bottle, but it will do the job.
It's just a bottle of pigment.
Just so much metallic pigment. You'll be like, what? At first, you'll be so annoyed at the cost, and then you'll use it, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
I'll be right.
Is good. Is very good. So see, we're just layering it up. So that's the thing. Whenever you have an idea like that and you go to do it, if you find that the material that you think would work isn't working, there probably is one that will do it. And always ask questions. Be like, I know 99% of the metallic acrylics out there couldn't even begin to cover anything. Look at that little branch. It's just doing its little branch thing. Maybe give it some little tiny little tips out there. I'm having kind of too much fun here. I guess we'll have it. How are you guys feeling this evening? It's just fun for me to do. And I just kind of go from left to right. If you were left-handed, you might want to go the opposite way because that might be more comfortable and you'd be less likely to be dragging your hand through wet paint. I do it this way because it's where I am. But you don't necessarily have to do it like that. It's just a thing that might help. What I generally find is that there's usually an area in which your brush stroke is stronger, or you have more control, or you have less problems or mess. And it's always a good idea to just lean into that and trust yourself. I made a big forward branch there.
Are you shortening up the teardrops as you go up?
So in the center of the tree, they can be bigger. They tend to be a little smaller to the outside edge. As they go up, like branches, they will diminish. That's a good question. Good observation. But here in the center, like in the middle of the tree, we won't be doing that yet. We will do it because we're middle of the tree. That's a nice one. I'm kind of enjoying this.
It's really kind of peaceful.
It's a very peaceful process.
Yeah.
If you're easy with yourself. If you're critical over every mark, it could become not enjoyable. So I highly avoid being critical of yourself on this kind of project and overly examine each moment. Try to take in the totality of the whole here. Where I have little openings that are maybe too open, I can put in a little branch and fill in that little hole. Now we're getting up here. We can bring smaller brush strokes into play, making the branches finer and less full is a thing we can do.
Can you now?
I can you? Not at all. I don't know what that was. Can you?
I think what it is we both get a little punchy at night.
Am I punchy? I'm not being punchy, not for real. No, not at all. No. Not punchy.
No, but I mean, you and I naturally get to be a little saucy with each other. So I think
I did not know I was being saucy. I apologize.
You're not. It's just I think that the temptation is there, so you could feel it in the air. That the temptation to go. I pushed a button. You know.
Little tiny marks. Look at these little tiny marks. They're fun to get. They're so fun.
Sam's like, I'm not getting any punchy. No.
I'm not punchy. I'm not mad at all.
No, I know you're not. It's just so funny that you were like.
Don't invoke the internet gods.
The intertubes.
You know, that poor man is never going to live that down.
Series of tubes. It's the most accurate description.
Just ever.
Most of the tubes just hold sewage.
Even though you're being metaphorical, it's so true. It's not all good on the internet. Some of it's really good, but not all of it's good.
The internet is for art.
It should be. You do it really well. Isn't this like groovalicious, this little thing here? It's so groovy. Huh?
See, some of them thought I was going to go someplace else there.
Did they? They just don't know you.
Or maybe they do.
Nah. They think they do. They have no idea. It's good, though. It's not like a dark secret. It's just John is extra weird. That's all I'm saying. You think you know how weird, but you don't know how weird.
My job is to actually pull strings and push buttons behind a green curtain.
It's kind of funny, right? It's great. Oh, my goodness. Oh, the irony of our lives.
Oh.
All right. Now, when I come to the top, I do an interesting thing. I like to switch to the other direction for the top of the tree.
Why do you do that?
Because the trees are so delicate at the top, and I want to have little tiny tapered strokes.
Ooh. Heather was saying if you find and you have any imperfections, you can strategically cover them up with ornaments.
Exactly. Isn't that awesome? I just ornament it up. It's just, and honestly, what it is things are not as imperfect as you guys feel, man. You're so hard on yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So hard on yourselves. And it can get really delicate little strokes there, and then I'm good.
There are so many wonderful.
So many little strokes. Now
stars.
I do see I like you want to look at it, and I think I want to fill a branch in right here. Or maybe it's here. It's here. It's here.
It's like I could help. Thank you to all the star senders and patrons. Wow.
Thank you so
you guys
much.
Are just
so I hope you guys feel appreciated. I know sometimes it can be hard to feel appreciated as a patron. I just want you to know that you guys are in our thoughts and in our gratitude, and you're in my thoughts before sleep and in
all the time.
In all my blessings. I just really appreciate it because we couldn't do it without you. And I know we maybe have weird rewards or not the most rewards. But we appreciate that you help us make sure that we can get this art out here like this. I'm just trying to... I think I'm good. All right. Sometimes I just like to make sure I filled it in. So, okay, I feel like it's filled in. It's a tree I would decorate now.
All right.
I do think it's a good idea to dry your tree because there's a lot of white paint, and dragging it everywhere will not make you happy.
Dry the tree. All right, go ahead. Wait here for you. Let's see here. What does it say over here? So can you recommend we paint this flat so we can spin it? Spin it. Okay, so spinning it is up to you. That's so that you can use your best brush stroke angle. So sometimes you'll find that you have one direction that you're better at getting the little doop-a-doop strokes than the other one. That's the technical term, the doop-a-doop.
Doop-a-doop.
And she'll explain the earthling speak for that, but yes. I'm
ready for a step if you're ready.
Okay, so if you paint this flat, would you recommend paint this flat, and why for spinning?
Okay, so don't recommend painting flat. I have to paint flat for a camera. The problem with flat is you don't get, my mom and I actually talk about this, how hard it is to see the artwork well when you paint flat. I really have to use my cameras to even see it at all, and then I turn it so that I can see it from different angles so I can tell if it's getting off perspective or off center. I used to call it slippage. And so this is how I have to do it. If you have to paint flat, I do find that this, just even turning it and seeing it from a different angle lets you see the painting better. Because sometimes it can be hard to see the painting. Worse for the trees and all that, right? Do we have the step up?
I think we just did this.
Okay, I don't know. So I was asking. So I'm going to take a tool. I don't know if you have this where you are. It's a cotton swab.
That's a tool?
Earbud, cotton swab. And I got it a little bit wet, and it's going to do an interesting thing for us because sometimes just getting the little ornaments out with our round brush can be a bit of a pain. Now, the issue with these is they can get fuzzy, but you can do a really wonderful job of placing ornaments, right, where you need them. You're like, oh, I want an ornament, and kind of put them around before you paint the full circle. Or you can just do these, because like if circles are your misery, this is another way to do it.
There's so many ways.
And so I like to, kind of lets me see where I feel like there's holes, and I can kind of get the sense of the balance. Right, and when I get that there, I can put that to the side. They're a little smaller than I wanted, so I'm going to take my number 4 round brush. It's just a good round brush, and get a little more paint on there. And now that I have the placement, I can kind of go around and make them larger if I want.
Oh, let me go look at that.
Right, but it's not so hard to get it out. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not as hard to get the round shape. I can make them bigger, easier. I know where they are.
You can tune them.
If you don't have the cotton swab and you want to skip that step, you can. It's just something sometimes I do in my own art practice. If I find myself doing a trick to make my experience easier a lot, I'm probably going to show it to you guys at some point. You can take it, you can leave it, but I'm using it for a reason. Where you need berries or smaller ornaments, this works super well.
Yes.
You just go Q-tip the whole way, and it almost like shades itself. It's like, that's actually pretty cool. Get me some different ornaments on my tree. Get them circles. Circles are, if you find yourself challenged by circles, you're not alone. They're actually challenging.
You know, I have accepted my lack of circular sort of evenness.
Yeah?
Yep.
What allowed you to accept it?
I think that it was just a natural apathy.
The apathy? You had an apathy to it?
I think that it's just like, well, I guess good. I was, maybe I have a low bar of happy. It's like, it's round-ish. It's a planetoid.
You know, round enough.
Gravity made it sort of round. Doesn't have to be perfect.
Planets are actually pretty round.
Planets?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Considering.
Well, they're kind of lumpy.
Considering,
I guess. Yeah.
All right. For that, I do like to dry it before
it.
I do any twinkles, and the reason I like to dry it before I try to do twinkles is that the green can drag everywhere, and we've got to do highlights on the green, so I would totally dry it. So let's give this a dry.
Okay, dry it. While she's trying it. Yes, pouncers. You could use pouncers. Totally could use pouncers. Also, what I found as a stand-in for pouncers is if you get any of those little battery organizers that come with foam in them, all the little, I was just saying, if you can't get the pouncers, the other thing is that anything that comes like as a battery holder with foam inserts in it, the little pieces of foam, they're AA and AAA foam inserts, perfect little pouncing pieces.
Did we get a step?
Not yet.
Step me.
I'm step away from you.
Step.
There we go.
I have a detail brush. This is a little round detail brush, and I'm gonna load it up with some blue. You can add some white into it so it shows a little bit more. And I'm going to make basically what you do is like it's a little star. So you go kind of across, and then down. It's almost like the same as what you do for snowflakes. Across. These little stars, right?
Yeah.
Just little sparkly stars.
Sparkly stars.
Well, enough to really show. And I like to put in a few yellow ones too, so they don't really show as well, the yellow. But they have enough of a show that I think that they're worth it.
What size is this brush?
This is a number, I don't know, I painted it out, but I believe it's a 1.
It's a little one.
It's a little tiny detail brush. If you can do this with the round you have in your head, like the 1, sometimes you'll have enough of a point where you can, and it doesn't cause you any trouble. I'm just making little twinkles. The important thing on your twinkles, you just want them to intersect at the center.
Mm-hmm.
I found even in sort of the mid-century space age, like some of it, yeah, it was actually very precision, but some of it was very just like generalized. I'm like,
Very
okay,
precision.
that's a very general atomic symbol there. Okay. And I highly suggest you just do this up any old way. Try it a couple times. It makes a good card. You could do it just plain. You could do it extra fancy like I am here.
Oh, that's very nice.
What's
and then
nice?
you could and this is a very good one to practice these brush strokes.
Very good one to practice these brush strokes.
And so while it also makes a pretty painting, you have done some excellent brush practice.
Excellent brush practice. I'm taking a little bit of white and yellow. I add the white to the yellow just to help make it slightly more opaque than it thinks it wants to be. All the blue is out of my brush when I do this. I don't have any blue in my brush. Otherwise, I would have green. Now I have a good yellow that I've thinned out, and I'm going to do a similar thing.
Little crissy crossies.
Little crissy crossies of yellow. Sometimes they get a little small, like up here. And I don't want it to be so creamy or white that it doesn't show up over the white. It still has to be yellow.
It's
right?
blue asterisks and yellow obelisks.
No, it's the same.
I know.
Same. You being funny? Am I missing a joke? Sometimes I miss his jokes.
It's French. It's always funny.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like you'd have to have known who Asterix and Obelix is to totally.
I did not realize you were referencing the comic.
I know. I'm speaking in John tongue, which is
John tongue is a very special tongue.
just random pop culture thoughts that fall out.
You got to do what you got to do. Be good with it.
It's okay.
So we're just making these little 6-sided little deals there, sparkling them around.
You could use gold, couldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But if you use gold paint, again, it's the same problem as silver paint. Very transparent.
Ooh.
Only one I like is the extra gold fine by Golden Acrylic. Holbein's got a gold gesso that's pretty decent. Highly pigmented, but again, for a lot of them, they're just a hot mess. All right, we're going to rinse that out.
Rinse it.
And let's dry, and we'll come back and add some highlights to the balls and some centers to the twinkles.
Okay. That's a complicated thing. We're gonna highlights. We're gonna put highlights on. Everybody likes the highlights. I like highlights. Okay, we ready for another step?
Yeah.
All right. This is the 9th step.
Now I'm going to treat myself to something that makes this easier, which is a fluid acrylic. You can continue to use the heavy body and thin it with water. But this is highly pigmented and not as thick, and so it does this very easily. If you don't want to do this, you could do craft bottle paint. So I'm going to take my dotting tool. You could use a toothpick if you don't have a dotting tool.
Ooh.
And again, I promise you, you can thin your heavy body paint and do this very slowly. It just would be, we would be here forever. It would add about 20 minutes to the video. Thin and dot, thin and dot. So. And I also like it for the fine lines and things that I do at the top.
Yeah.
They sell those bottles in a large size bottle that you see there and a tiny one, and you can get them at Michael's, and you can get them online and at most art stores. But you can see this is what gives the center of the sparkles the groovalicious vibe to it. They need their dot.
Dot.
And when you do it, you'll really notice when one of them doesn't have a dot. It will look like it's very lonely and sad. I'm dotless. While I'm here, I'm going to take the big ball. You could just go bigger with your toothpick or the back of a small detail brush, and I'm going to come a little bit above the top of my tree.
Ooh.
And make a dot. All right. I'm going to clean that off. And while that's all having a think or dry, I'm going to take a little bit of my green over to my yellow, and I'm going to make a very light green. Just a little bit of green to my yellow. And I'm going to come on, let's make it the left side of the ornaments and make a little curve stroke, kind of highlighting each ball.
Ah. Now, can you mix white with gold to make it more opaque?
Yeah, but it'll take the gold out of it.
Oh,
It will make it much less iridescent. So with the metallics, they paint over dark color better. And again, I really, Golden's metallics, the fine is very good. Holbein's metallics are very good in that. Chroma Pearl and Chroma Shine is like nothing else.
So what you're saying is that Gold and Holbein make some decent ones, and Chroma Pearl's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If that's and then you can gold foil and you can silver foil, which is also incredibly effective. It doesn't have to be 18 karat gold. They have a imitation now, so the cost expense of that is no longer as prohibitive as it used to be. Now I'm going to take my little brush with a little bit of this white paint. Make some little highlights on my little.
Oh, so dot dot.
Little dot dots, like they've got some shimmer.
It's nice.
I like it. It just gives it that extra little. What step are we on right now?
Next one's 10. This is step 9.
Okay. All right. Let's hit a little hair dryer just so everything's a little stable and we're not dragging paint. I'm going to come back and show you how to put the reflection under the tree.
Okay. Under tree reflections. Those are always the things. Helps ground it, make it feel like it has a place Well, there's always the time that she takes just a little bit longer than I thought that she would to dry. So I'm like, and then.
And
Okay.
then, okay. So I'm going to again make this look very shiny under here, and I'm going to bring in a bit of my white. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch angle, and I am going to load up edge load. So see, it's not very loaded, very thick. And I'm going to come under here and tap and pull. And sometimes in the corner I might come down, making a little kind of bright highlights. And these are irregular. This is the trick to this. You want to make them a little irregular.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I use the nib, the corner of my brush to get that. Go across here. So similar kind of concepts where we're down and over.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of saying that the tree is leaving maybe a little bit of its reflection on there. You can go like this. It's a dry brush. Getting a little excited there with it, but you know, why not?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have too much fun. Okay, so I've got a bit of that going on in there. I'm going to rinse out very, very thoroughly. I'm going to take a little of my yellow and green, only because I want a slightly brighter green. So it really pops. I put a little bit of these little, like, oh, like a little of the green light from the ornaments came in. Right? A little tippy toe. Rinse out thoroughly. I'm going to upgrade this to 2. This is
You think so? I think it's just it's got a lot of layers.
It does. It's like conceptually it's doable, but it does have a lot of layers. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit of extra yellow. That's like the twinkles.
The twinkles.
We love the twinkles, right?
The twinkles have it.
The twinkles are great. The trees are reflecting. And I'll lighten the blue with a little bit of white, as we do.
Wow, I like all the little different colors in there.
Yeah, it's playful. And this is an opportunity for you to be playful a little bit. It's kind of like the jazz of your painting.
Yeah.
I got maybe a little more excited this time doing it, but you know, hey. Sometimes we do. Get a little more excited with what we've got going on. All right. So now when we come back, we're going to put the star on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and if you want to like make any of this, you can sometimes smudge it down with a finger.
Let's see here.
Come here and just like finger smidge it. Oh, you can play with it as you need to. Play away. All right. Ready?
Okay.
Step.
Ready to step?
I'm ready to step.
Step. Okay.
Okay. So
I think we may have
what?
We didn't turn this. I don't think I hit the step button at the beginning of this step.
At the beginning of the reflection?
Well, yeah, at the beginning of the reflection. I don't think I put up the step at the beginning of the reflection.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
Uh-oh.
So what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and give this a step 11. Because 10, we'll go back and put it at the beginning of that other step. We know where it belongs.
Okay. I'm not in charge of steps. This is all you. This mayhem, you blame on him.
I know.
All right, I'm going to turn this around so that I have an easier time getting my line straight. I'm going to not touch the dot, and I'm going to come from the top, and as best as I can, make a straight line upwards. And then I'm going to come out from the side. Best as I can. Straight line out. Sometimes it's like a challenge for me, so that's why you see me sort of changing directions on these. Okay. Now here, I'm going to bring this one down. Kind of in line with the radials that we did with the other tree. And when I have that, I can do it the little corner ones. Which I really like. So what you see me doing is just making it so that I'm always kind of getting this into where I have the strongest stroke that I have. Right? If you have a really unsteady stroke, something that you can do is use tape or a bridge or Posca pen. There are other ways to do this.
Wow. You're just stretching those little lines.
Yeah, I'm just exaggerating a little bit where I can. Sometimes it's nice to do. Then I'm going to come here and kind of very carefully apply some light circular glow. Very kind of dry brushed. Trying to get a little energy going up there. Whew.
Wow.
And then when I get that, I can sign.
That turned out pretty amazing.
It did. And I got a little enthused with my reflections, but that's been known to happen from time to time. We're just like, oh, reflections. Oh, tree looks good. It's a full tree. I'm very proud of that. This weekend, we're going to kitten in a mitten. A kitten mitten.
True.
A kitten in a mitten, which I'm very, very excited about. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Thank you guys for joining us. I loved having everybody.
Now, if for any reason, we missed a question and you need anything from me, you put it in the comments below. If you love this video, hit a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more free art videos, hit a subscribe or follow the page, wherever you're watching us from.
Okay.
Hmm?
They feel like the ornament on the left in the middle of the tree has not been highlighted. It has been it is feeling okay. See, so it's special now. It feels special again. It's like, oh, don't leave me out. I'm in the dark. No, it's better. There we go. Okay.
You are allowed to make adjustments to your painting even after the signature. I've been known to do that several times.
Lock it. It doesn't like.
No, you're not locked forever. It is okay. You can kind of go as you need to go. It's totally fine.
All right.
Evening painting.
Evening painting.
So if this was your first live, I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. It's kind of a cool, fun vibe, I think, to be here in real time. If you're waiting for the mini book, those come out 7 to 10 days after the show, and they can be really helpful. What?
It says Wanda Holter, member for 12 months, custom emoji chat. Hey, that's
Congratulations for your 12-month anniversary.
I just saw that. That's neat.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
We appreciate
I
everybody.
appreciate you. Thank you so much. Guys, take care of yourselves. Be safe this holiday season. Hug your families, hug your pets, hug yourselves. Be kind to you. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at any